Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition. It's draft day, folks. It's PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We got Brent Beaird, and we'll have Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel getting an update on what's going on with Gator sports as well. If you missed it last night, Gator softball loses 12-3 to the semis. I was traveling, looked at the score going into the fifth inning. Gators were up 3-0. 941 sending a text here on the Titan MR text line. Softball shocker with FSU dominating us last night. Football, baseball, now softball. Were you surprised? Not surprised, but I mean, when you're up 3-0 going into the fifth, I don't know what happened. I'm not worried about it. Go win the series in Georgia this weekend and get ready for postseason play. Let's go to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. We're joined by our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, who probably said, give Reggie Bush his trophy back.
Good morning, Jane. Hope you're doing okay. I'm enjoying the last few cool mornings that we have in a while, and so we're done with spring games for the SEC and the ACC, and awaiting the college football magazines, and basically a month from now.
Yes, indeed. So a lot going on in college sports for sure. Let's crank it up right now. The folks that are in charge of the college football playoffs, or all the brilliant minds that have put this thing together, are now in Dallas meeting. What can you tell us what's going on there?
Yeah, they actually, it was over at least by yesterday. I think a couple of things came out of that. One was Mike Oresco, who is the AAC commissioner. He's retiring soon. When he was leaving the meeting, he talked to the media, and he had an interesting comment that he emphasizes that college sports would need to move to a tiered collective bargaining model, and that the SEC and the Big Ten officials are discussing such possibilities. And the thing we mean by that is, which is what's going on now, the SEC and the Big Ten are basically making the decisions. They're on the top tier, and then you've got the Big 12 and the ACC that's below them. And then obviously you've got the non-Power 5, you've got Notre Dame involved with that too. So that's pretty much what we've got, and that's what we're going to see. The other things that came out of that is the group of five, or the non-Power 5, whatever you want to call it, is finally talking about maybe even doing something on their own. Now, there would be a representative in the expanded playoff for the group of five, but do you just want one, or would you like to go off and eventually do your own thing, have your TV contract and playoff? And I think eventually that's what they will do. What's kind of amusing here, the guy who is talking to the non-Power 5 is Derek Dooley. Yeah, the former Tennessee coach, who is doing that. And the last thing I'll share on this real quick is the fact that some folks were wondering if the deal had not come through with the college football playoff the way the SEC and the Big Ten wanted, would they have taken their proverbial marbles and gone home? And the answer from Greg Sankey to Yahoo Sports is absolutely. When we ended that set of meetings in January 2022 with that decision, it was clear if you're going to walk away from the opportunity, we're going to reevaluate our position on format, revenue sharing, and governance. So, like it or not, they were ready to walk away and kind of do their own thing if that had not come through. So, so I'll kind of leave it at that from the meetings, but that's the important stuff that went on.
Yeah. A couple things here before we move on. Joseph on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law, says he saw that Notre Dame will have the sons of ex-NFL players Plaxico Burress, Jerome Bettis, Ike Taylor, Ryan Clark, Brian Urlacher, and Bryant Young on their rosters next year. They'll have the pedigree for sure. That's pretty cool that all those kids
It
will be
really
there.
is.
Yeah, that's very, very cool. Dan says, give Florida their SEC championships back. Yeah, I don't know if that happened. It probably should though. We had some rule changes that we have talked about for months, but it's official now. You are going to have a 2-minute warning, just like the National Football League at the end of each half. And then you're going to have the helmet communication to one player on offense, one player on defense, like the NFL cuts off at 15 seconds or when the ball is snapped. That has been announced. It will happen. Andy's question for you on Facebook Live. He says, what's your opinion on the new 2-minute warning in college football? And will they ever change the pass interference penalty to match the NFL? Ooh, that's a huge penalty if you get it.
Yeah, it really is. Well, and there's thought now about eventually that the college receivers will need 2 feet in bounds instead of just 1. So that one may be coming. I think the 2-minute warning thing, the thing that struck me about this is just be transparent about this. The Rules Committee co-chair, A.J. Eads, was quoted as saying, well, this is not a new or additional timeout. And then we get some kind of gobbledygook here that tries to explain that. Look, just be transparent and tell folks that's what it is. I mean, the reality is we had about 5 minutes shaved off. Someone averaged last year the time that it took to play a game, and it was about 5 minutes less. And that happened because the clock runs now on after you make first down. So this will be, frankly, an additional timeout. I don't know if they're necessarily cut away to a commercial. I mean, they may do some kind of split screen thing. We'll wait and see where this goes. But that is involved. Now, I will say this. If you're out of timeouts before the 2-minute warning and you're behind and you're driving, the 2-minute warning at that point could be a lifesaver. So, but yes, it will be in vogue, and the helmet communication. Frankly, Shane, I thought they should have had the helmet communication 5 to 10 years ago. Now, in fairness, it may not have had the technology, but I'm glad it's here.
They need to just go ahead and make it every rule the NFL has, quite honestly. Move the hash marks in like the NFL, take the numbers down towards the sideline, shrink the width of the goalpost. They might as well do it all. The way it is now, the kids are being paid, so it's not, it's like a minor league for the National Football League, but you got to get the rules correct. Speaking of rules, the NCAA has now rubber stamped the changes, which just still blows my mind. How you can transfer as many times as you want.
Right.
And where the schools can facilitate NIL deals, but it can't come from the school.
What I'll add to that is that now there are still academic standards here,
but nobody talks about that, Brent.
No, they don't. They really don't. But this is a part of it. Is now what also needs to be said is obviously you can't transfer within a season. I mean, you can't go from one team that you were on in September to another one in October. I hope and pray that never happens. Yes, you've got to be in good academic standing and maybe making progress to a degree, but unfortunately that's left out of a lot of these reports.
Speaking of academic standards, Brandon's question to me, and I honestly can't answer it. He says, Shane, can you explain the difference in academic requirements for student athletes at UF versus other schools? I read where a wide receiver from Colorado State didn't come to UF and ended up transferring to Syracuse because he couldn't get in. It's a hard academic school. Let's just put it that.
It is.
I would say the two most highly ranked academic institutions in the Southeastern Conference are Vanderbilt and Florida. We all know Florida's the top 5 public institution. We may be number 1 now. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's tough. And you don't hear from which is strange because you don't hear about the academic portion like you used to back in the day.
Right.
You know, this kid couldn't get in because of his test grade, so they had to send him to a junior college. That doesn't happen anymore. They're getting these kids in at these schools no matter what.
Yeah.
So it's a shame. I mean, it's great that we have high standards, but I mean, as I mentioned multiple times on this program, I can't remember the last time a kid got suspended for a game due to missing class or GPA. I mean, when's the last time you've heard that, Brent?
It's been years.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the quote, "We'll handle it internally," but you don't ever hear anything beyond that. No.
Yeah, and then John says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law, saw that starting center for Alabama, Brockermeyer, entered the portal with a do not contact order. You can bet he is headed to Austin. Well, he's headed to Texas, but it ain't to the University of Texas. I would bet he would be heading to Fort Worth, Texas, to be with his brother with the Horned Frogs, is my guess. All right, Brent, let's transfer portal. I think this may surprise a lot of people. The team that had the most kids enter the transfer portal after spring ball.
Colorado, which probably surprises very few people, frankly. Houston had 13. Georgia Tech had 8. UCF had 7. Miami had 6. Arkansas had 6. Texas had 5. And again, these numbers will vary. We've still got another few days of the portal, and then it closes next week, so that will be good. That'll be good for everybody, just to kind of see where the rosters are. Now, the preseason magazines, Lindy's, Athlon, Phil Steele, are trying to do what they can, but even they are limited because of the portal. And after it closes on May 1, that they'll have a lot of work to do, to say the least. And I've heard there's some talk about maybe instead of having a winter and a spring, that there may be just like 30 days, and that's going to be it. The transfers at some point during the year. I don't know if that will come to fruition, Shane, but I'm just throwing it out there. That's one of those things that we've heard that's a possibility.
Yeah, for sure. Silverback Concrete builds firm foundations for generations. You stand on it. We stand by it. We got Brent Beaird, our college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, here on the Titan More Hotline, courtesy of Comfort Tent. We'll have Edgar Thompson, second portion of today's program. All right, Brent, let's go around the SEC. Alabama's done with the spring. They've got some transfers come in, and they've had some transfers leave.
Yep, as most teams do. Graham Nicholson is the kicker they bring in. He was the Luke Groza Award winner last year. You remember they had Will Reichard, their kicker, who broke the NCAA record. And even though he did that, and I know it's just a one-year award, but even though he did that, Nicholson won the award. So Nicholson is now at Alabama, which, frankly, if you're in the SEC, you've got to have a good kicker. Trent Richardson, the former Alabama running back, is now at Ramsey High School in the Birmingham area. He's a running backs coach. Alabama does have Curtis Perry, defensive lineman, in the portal, but he didn't play much, frankly, so that is not a surprise. So, and I do think Alabama's going to be very active in the portal over the next few days before it closes.
Yeah. Arkansas picks up a running back. I was not very familiar with him, but he came from Florida State.
Yeah, Rodney Hill has gone to Arkansas. Recently enrolled at Florida A&M before re-entering the portal. Ran for 190 yards and a touchdown this past season. So he was associated with Florida State, and obviously Arkansas lost Rocket Sanders, one of the better running backs in the league, to South Carolina. So they are trying to fill the hole there.
Yeah. What can you tell us what's going on at Auburn?
This is interesting because a lot of their veteran receivers, like Jay Fair, are in the portal now. That this just happened this week. He is the 5th Auburn receiver to transfer out of the program. So they're pretty much starting over at wide receiver. Now, the thing that just came up yesterday was Penn State receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith could be end up at Auburn. He's one of the top players in the transfer portal, had 53 catches last year, and Auburn really is high on Cam Coleman and Bryce Kane, 2 freshmen who did really well. Also, and they need to upgrade their passing. Hugh Freeze does a really good job at quarterbacks, but they really struggled last year. My goodness, they were 124th in the nation in passing yardage. Shane, how about this? Auburn has not had a top 80 passing offense by efficiency since 2018. Now, that will change with Hugh Freeze, but they have a lot of work to do there.
Yes, they do for sure. Gainesville, what can you tell us that we don't know already?
Well, I think y'all probably know everything by now at this point in the week. But I'm glad to see Derek Wingo, the senior linebacker, be healthy. I think that's really good. Now, I won't get the name right, but Enoch Waggoy, who is a huge offensive tackle. This is pretty fascinating, frankly, coming from England. What's even better is he is 6'7", 314. I wondered when I first saw this, Shane, if he might be playing basketball too. But I think that's a good pickup for them. It comes from the Jacksonville area. Also, and former USC offensive lineman Jason Zendamela is supposed to visit Florida. So Gator fans, I'm sure, already know that, but that's something to keep your eye on.
Yeah, no doubt. Brent, we got some questions here before we move on throughout the conference. These are brought to you by Quality Plumbing on YouTube. Gator Josh says, good morning. Brent, what SEC team with low national expectations will overachieve, and give me one of the teams with high national expectations that will underachieve after you've seen the spring games? I don't think the spring games really play much into it, but I mean, it may be kind of early to have a prediction there, but do you have anybody that jumps out?
And I appreciate the question. I think there will probably be high expectations again for LSU. You know what they've got offensively with Nussmeier at quarterback. I think he'll do a fine job. Heard from an LSU beat writer yesterday who said they've done a really good job with bringing in new defensive coaches. And that has made a difference, like Bo Davis, who came from Texas for the D-line coach. The problem is, though, that they just don't have the players yet on defense. And he was very honest about this. I thought it was pretty refreshing, frankly. And he said they will be very good offensively, but they're not going to be very good again defensively until they get better players in. And his comment was, part of the problem is they start the season with USC in Las Vegas, and he said that I had forgotten about this. LSU in season openers has lost 4 in a row, and they've got USC. And Shane, next year they open with Clemson, so it may not get much better in the opener for the Tigers. So I'm going to say LSU may get a lot of preseason publicity to be in the top 25 and may not be able to make it. And I wonder about Mississippi State. That could be a little bit better. Blake Shapen had a good spring. He's at quarterback. So, and obviously they've got a new coach. So I'm going to say there, and maybe you may see some improvement in Oklahoma defensively, which they would be better. But I get the question. It's a good question.
One more question on YouTube brought to you by Quality Plumbing from Matt. Can Brent comment on Reggie Bush getting his Heisman Trophy reinstated?
Yeah. I mean, I thought there are 2 things here. One is at this point, he's, shall we say, served his time and his penalty. So it's probably a good thing that he's getting it back. But the thing that we've got to remember is, and you can't take this away, that's just the way it was. At the time when USC got hit with penalties, look, this was one of the more egregious violations of NCAA rules that we'd seen during that time. As a matter of fact, someone had told me that they saw the penalties, and it was several pages, and they were single spaced. So his family got a lot during that time. So the point is, they got punished because they violated the rules that were there, and we can't ignore that. But still, it's good that he's back in the fold, and he would get the trophy. And again, we need to remember this is a decision by the Heisman Trust. This was not an NCAA decision. It was a decision from the Heisman people that decided to do that, if that will help.
Yeah. I tell you what, that Joker was so good in college. It was
ridiculous. Wasn't he?
He was unbelievable.
Really was.
Let's move down a little bit. We talk about a lot of these same teams over and over. But what can you tell us about Tennessee? I just hadn't heard a whole lot about Tennessee this year. I think they're going to be better on offense just because of the quarterback.
They will. Nico Lamaliva is who Shane's talking about. Look, he's going to be as Shane knows, he's going to be a much better quarterback than Joe Milton was. It will be interesting, as you've told us, if Joe Milton gets drafted. And he probably will on the analytics, but that doesn't mean he's going to be a great quarterback. So I think Tennessee, they've got a decent amount of offensive linemen coming back. Lamaliva will be really good. Squirrel White and Brew McCoy come back at wide receiver. To me, it comes down to the defense and what they're going to be doing. A couple of things here. Jason Jenkins, their defensive lineman, is going into the portal. Louisville defensive back Wesley Walker, who transferred to Louisville from Tennessee, is back into the portal. He was a starter at Tennessee, so I think they will be okay. I heard a beat writer say the other day for Tennessee that he thought they may be just outside of the top 12 in the playoff. So I'm sure Tennessee fans weren't excited about hearing that, but good point, Shane, that they have had a pretty quiet spring.
Yeah. Another one of the opponents of the Gators early in the season is A&M with Mike Elko, the new ball coach there. But he's still, I thought Connor Wigman was going to be like their starter, and he probably still will be, but they have
Yeah,
not officially come out and named it.
no, no, they haven't because Connor was hurt. He had surgery, so they're still waiting on him to get healed. Is what it amounts to. Now there is some A&M news. Noah Thomas has been one of their best receivers during the spring. Again, that's during the spring, so I wanted to mention that. The also they picked up a kid named Nick Skirton, a defensive end who was basically unblockable during the spring. So keep your eye on him. They lost, and this is happening more and more. And it's kind of interesting and bizarre at the same time. Bryce Foster was their 3-year starter at center and is no longer on the roster. I understand that he's probably in the portal, so they're having to replace him. Are you seeing a little bit of this like I am, Shane? And I'm sure it's maybe they're looking for a better deal and got one, but I've seen several times where you've got a multi-year starter at a position that and was going to be the starter coming back this year that's going somewhere else. So
Yeah.
again, the NIL world just keeps revolving.
It's all about the money.
It is.
You can believe what you
Really
want to
is.
believe. You know, people get so upset because I can't tell you how many texts on the Titan War text line I got last night and this morning regarding the kid, the wide receiver. I guess he's from Colorado State that ended up going to committing to Syracuse.
Yeah,
He was supposed
right.
to visit Gainesville this weekend. How can he choose Syracuse over? Look, people, we don't know how much money Syracuse offered him.
That's
There's
right.
also, you know, somebody mentioned about the academic portion. Not, you can't have everybody, and
Yeah. No.
everybody is going to go for the money. I don't care what anybody says. I firmly believe that Etienne, I don't like to talk about Etienne. I think he's a really good player. I don't think we're going to miss him one bit. But he went to Georgia for more money. And he is probably going to get less carries, in my opinion, at Georgia than he did at Florida. Um, we'll see. But Brent, before we get you out of here, give us a little rundown of Miami and FSU.
Yeah. Glad to do it. Obviously, FSU finished their spring game last week. DJ Uiagalelei was average, frankly, in the game. 12 of 26 for 177. That's a spring game, so that's the reality of that. But I still really wonder how this is going to work, Shane. I'm look. He's got a lot of experience. He's had about 40 starts, and I think he'll be okay. I don't think he'll be necessarily Jordan Travis, but we'll see. Malik Benson, Alabama wide receiver, got hurt in the spring game, but he had a good spring, so I think they will be counting on him. Greedy Vance, the Florida State defensive back, has committed to Southern Cal, so he is out at this point. At Miami, Caleb Spencer, their safety, has entered the transfer portal. Jared Hanson Hunt is expected to enter the transfer portal. Also, and Ja'Cory Brown, their former quarterback, who we thought would be in the transfer portal, is. But I mean, the good news for them is that they're very high on Cam Ward, their quarterback transfer. He had a really good spring. And look, they could be good. They've got the Rivers kid and on the offensive line. Xavier Restapro is a good wide receiver. I mean, these are all kids that you'll see in the opener, which is going to be a really interesting game, to say the least. And they've got some talent, but again, they've really yet to put it together the way they want to. So it's going to be very interesting offseason in Coral Gables.
Yeah, Jim on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says, is the OL guy that reclassified going to see the field this season? I highly doubt it, Jim. We're at max scholarships and haven't seen any possible reductions for the portal players we might want. Is that causing an issue? No, because here's the deal. If there's people that we want, and there's let me just rephrase it this way. I'm sure we wanted that wide receiver, but we didn't get him. Whether it's for academics or money, we don't know. We may never know. But just because you go up to, say, 87, 88, 90 players, scholarship players, then that's when it becomes the National Football League. Coach
Yeah.
calls in player X. Hey, man,
Yeah,
we appreciate
really.
everything you've done for the Florida Gators,
Mm-hmm.
but these players are ahead of you. You're probably not going to play. Would you like to enter the transfer portal? We'll try to help you any way we can. That's the way they
Right.
cut guys. So,
It is.
yep. Yeah. Brent, good stuff as always, my man. We'll talk to you next week.
Good. And I'll leave you with this. I forgot this. Kansas State and Iowa State will be the Ireland game. Now, Georgia Tech and FSU is the Ireland game this year, but next year in 2025. So I don't know how exciting that is, but that's brand new, and just wanted to throw it out there for week 0. So, Shane, enjoyed it. Look forward to hearing Edgar in a few minutes, and we'll talk next week.
Sounds good, my man. Take care.
You too.
That's Brent Beaird, a college football analyst and Heisman Trophy voter, joining us on the Titan MRR hotline, courtesy of Comfort Temp. Take a quick time out. Come back. We'll talk a little Gator sports, a little draft, a little bit of everything with Edgar Thompson from the Orlando Sentinel. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Be right back. We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union.
Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Dave & Buster's Eat, Drink, Play, Watch. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our Gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Ruse Ogre State Farm offers a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visitogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. We're going to go back to the Titan MRR hotline courtesy of Comfort Temp. It's the one and the only from the Orlando Sentinel, Edgar Thompson. What's happening, my man?
What an intro. What's this scared money don't make money shirt? That's kind of cool. I hadn't seen this.
Oh, I've had that. You know, that's Billy's little slogan that
I know.
We need to play with some scared money and throw the damn ball deep. That's all I got to say.
Oh, we're gonna go there again. The last time I was say, that's your fallback. How you doing, man? Thanks for having me. We were just talking. I'm up in Virginia. I'm at my mom's house actually, but so I'm back home seeing family, getting a couple weeks off here.
Awesome. Well, real
Yeah.
quick, let me get to this day in sports, which is
Sure.
brought to you
You got
by Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life at Campus USA Credit Union. On this day, Edgar, in
Mhm.
1993, the NFL draft. You know
Yeah.
who was part of that draft?
I mean, I know that was the quarterback class with Marino and
No, that's 83, 93, 1993.
the
Well,
great,
I'll tell you who
the
was
greatest quarterback in Florida history. You're who I'm looking at right now.
no, I didn't get drafted. I was part of that draft, but I'm still waiting on those jokers to call me. Uh, Washington State quarterback Drew Bledsoe was the first pick of the New England Patriots.
Okay.
That's but yeah, I was part of that draft, and they had 8 rounds that year,
All right.
and still ain't nobody called me. So to hell with the draft. Um, that's what I think about the draft.
I didn't know if you were drafted or not, but you played, you got some years under your belt there.
Yeah,
So
you know what's crazy is there were tons of people, quarterbacks drafted. Rick Meyer went number 2.
okay.
Gino Toretto was drafted. He was the Heisman Trophy winner. But
Boss.
Brunell and Trent Green were both drafted in the 8th round. They both played them. Trent Green played about as long as I did.
I covered Trent Green for 5 games till that concussion he had in 07 with the Dolphins pretty much ended his career, sadly.
Yeah, and then Brunell played 19 years, and now
Well, he was
coaching
on. He was with the Jags in the late 90s. He was a star.
Yeah. So,
that's cool.
All right, Smokey Gator.
You know him, don't you? You're tight with Brunell.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. Brunell's a good buddy of mine. Yeah.
Huh.
Smokey Gator on YouTube, brought to you by Quality Plumbing, says Billy now losing players to Syracuse. Time to cut bait before we fall any further behind where UF is currently at. It's embarrassing. Look, Smokey Gator, think what you want to think. We've lost multiple players, and the kid that we lost to Syracuse, I don't know how good he is anyway. But again, you got to remember, there's more things involved in just putting a kid on Twitter saying I'm interested and I'm visiting Florida. There's 1,000 things that go into this. I don't know how else to explain it, but it's not embarrassing.
Well, so this guy, Justice Ross Simmons is his name, CSU, 6'3", 215. So he does like look the part, has the length kind of you're looking for. But I mean, 71, 11, 48, and 6 scores in 2 seasons in the Mountain West is not a guy coming in here and changing the offense. I mean, period. The guy I was intrigued with, Keandre Lambert-Smith, you just notified me because I had to drive from Florida. I missed it yesterday. Committed to Auburn, which Auburn's doing a heck of a job getting talent. I mean, Hugh Freeze is working it. I was intrigued with him. I don't know how much Florida was even in the game on him. I know his name came up when he entered the portal a week or so ago, 6'1", 185. But I mean, this guy was explosive. 280-yard touchdown. I mean, he has the most 80-yard touchdowns than any Penn State player ever at a receiver, 11 scores to, a couple years. I mean, he looked like maybe a piece because he would give the Gators what you want yourself, Shane, which is the downfield passing threat. And I'm not saying they don't have those options in other guys. I'd like to see Mizell get some run this year for sure. We've talked about that. Andy Jean needs to get healthy, but that kid could have been intriguing. This other guy, it's just like, he just seemed like a guy to me. 6 touchdowns in 2 years. I mean, he's going to come in and suddenly become all SEC? I mean, no.
So yeah, I don't think there's anyone that will be in the portal or that's in the portal that would be a huge impact at the wide. I don't think there's anybody you can pick up right now that's going to be a huge impact. I mean, they got a lot of catching up to do to be ready to play.
I'll tell you this: 2 years ago, they got Ricky Pearsall. Lightning is not striking twice this portal.
Did he come in after spring? Yeah. I can't remember.
He was a spring portal guy.
Was he? Okay. Well, I take that back. I think he's going to be the only Gator that gets drafted probably, which is remarkable when you think about that. I mean, that's somewhat embarrassing. It tells you where the talent has been, but I think he's going to play in the National Football League a long, long time, and he is a solid wide receiver.
Well, so I wrote a story on him Sunday that I hadn't put out. I mean, again, I don't throw everything out there like I used to. I've kind of backed off the Twitter world a little bit, but Mel Kiper did a conference call a couple weeks ago. And I was like throwing out there the idea that who had raised his stock more, because I think Ricky was kind of a third day pick coming in this year, right? I mean, he was fourth, fifth round guy, sixth even. I mean, maybe fifth, probably, I would guess. He is a solid second rounder, and we're talking a very deep receiver class. There might be a dozen to 15 receivers going in the first 75 picks. And Mel is like, this guy is a second round lock. And his combine was spectacular. His Senior Bowl was great. His season was very good. He's done everything every step of the way to elevate his stock. Now, he's not in the Marvin Harrison and Dunzy, Neighbors camp, or even Thomas, but he moves into this, and there are a couple of guys still in front of him. He could be like the 7th, 8th receiver in a really stacked class.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Smokey Gator on YouTube says, okay, so what is Napier responsible for then? Seems like everyone has an excuse for why Billy keeps losing. Again, you can't sign everybody. Every kid is going to make his own decision. And okay, so let's say we did sign the kid and he never played. What are you going to say then, Smokey Gator? The guy is not going to break into the starting lineup, is what I'm saying.
Smokey Gator, I mean, and I have no issue with Smokey Gator. He obviously isn't listening to me on here much, or my podcast, Mark Long. I mean, I don't think we've been sunshine pumping with Billy too much. I'm starting to buy in more than I did, though. I think I've said this a couple of shows ago. I'm listening a little. I'm believing a little more. I mean, his organization, he feels like, is finally in place the way he wants. I think he's happier with his staff. I think there's more synergy. The roster, I think, is built closer to what he wants. It's certainly not complete. He's got the length and size at the tackle position now. I think he wanted. I mean, look at the offensive tackles. If that line can protect Mertz, which is critical, and open some holes, which they couldn't do consistently last year, you got a pretty good offense. If they can run the football and you give Graham some play action opportunities, they do need another receiver to emerge. We've talked about that. You've, I'm sure, talked about it on this show many times. They need somebody to emerge because Eugene can't do it alone. But I think he's putting a team the defense looks like it's better at each level. I'm not saying this is going to be a 9-10 win team, but it is going to be a team that's not going to be a pushover, I don't think. And if it is, okay, then we can have that conversation about what do you do.
Right. So, my thoughts after watching spring, not so much the spring game, just seeing the players. This team, and people argue with me all the time, and that's fine. We all know we had a pretty decent offense last year. Could have been better? Absolutely. The Kansas City Chiefs, who won the Super Bowl, their offense could have played better. You don't play perfect on offense or defense, is my point. But the offense was good enough to win 8 or 9 games. We were historically bad defensively. Now they have made some changes that I can see that we're going to be better, especially on the back end. I think the 2 safeties that they brought in, Asa Turner and DJ Douglas, will make a huge difference. I love our 2 starting corners. Jason Marshall Jr. and Devin Moore are NFL corners. People can argue with me all they want.
But Devin Moore hadn't been healthy yet, and he's healthy and he's added on. He looks like a different kid. I was like, you need a bigger shirt. He's not packed, but he's like put on some muscle. He's really good. I think he'd be better than Marshall. He's a very good tackler, among other things. He's 6'3" and whatever. These 2 guys can suffocate receivers potentially. Look, they had 3 interceptions last year and gave up, I mean, what is it, like 25, 30-yard passes or something? It was awful. And they're not going to do that. Now it's going to begin up front somewhat. They got to get a pass rush. And I think Searcy has real potential to be a star even. LJ
McCray is going to be a problem coming off the edge.
Oh, he's
Miles
good.
Graham, Pup Howard,
Justice Boone,
Bridges. I mean, look, they have the players. Am I saying they're going to win 9-10 games? I don't know, but I try to be a realist, and I'm a competitor, Edgar. I look at the schedule. Is it hard? Yeah, every schedule's hard, it seems like every year.
Well, November's
But
impossible.
when you look at the first 7 games, though, is there anybody on there that you just say we have zero chance of beating?
No, but you left one guy out, Justice Boone, who blowing out his ACL in the first scrimmage of camp, really was the beginning of the end of that defense. I mean, that guy I think he's going to be formidable. So we'll see. And Shamar James being fully healthy, he hurt his knee in camp. He was never healthy. So you get Boone back, you get Shamar back, and then you get all these new guys and new pieces. I don't think the defense, I mean, we're not talking, doomsday defense here.
They can't be any worse. Let's put it that way.
No, they're going to be a lot better on defense. But in terms of the schedule, Shane, you look at it, and if this team is 3-3 after its first 6 games, then it's a 5-alarm.
Right. I agree. But I look
at
the first 7.
But it could be 5-1 or 6-0.
I look at the first 7 opponents, and I honestly believe we can beat them all.
At Tennessee, I would.
You're right. That's the one. I got to see how Lamaleva plays at quarterback. Tennessee hasn't been great at times on defense. So we'll see. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves.
But what I'm saying, Hype will have 6 games by then to get his offense cooking, and it's going to be in Knoxville. But here's what I'll say. The November schedule is brutal, but last week, Florida State's game, okay? DJ, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name right now. He didn't, it's Umalele or something. He did not look great.
He's not very good. I don't know how else to put it.
He was good on third down, but otherwise didn't win 50%, I don't think. Now, they have good skill players. They have a lot of speed. They're going to be tough, but I'm just saying Florida State isn't going to be as good as it was last year, potentially, right?
No, they lost a ton of good players.
So we don't know. Jaden Daniels is gone from LSU. What's LSU going to be? Ole Miss, we assume, is going to be very good, but the schedule, we just don't know how good these teams the Gators are playing are either.
Exactly.
So just to assume, oh my God, Billy said it on that Josh Pate interview. He said, we're not the same team that ended last season, and neither are they.
Agree 100%. Joseph says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Law. Maybe I'm the only one, but I'm glad we didn't get the Colorado State receiver. This is the SEC people. Dude was average at best in the Mountain West, and y'all are tripping. I'm more mind blown we even wanted him. I agree with that. Just because it was on Twitter and he was coming on a visit doesn't mean you actually want a player. So what happens is they'll watch your tape. They got all these analysts grading your tapes or whatever, and then they want to see you in person. So that's why a lot of times you come on a visit so they can get to know you, actually see, how big are his hands? What's his wingspan? All that kind of stuff. So I hear what you're saying, Joseph. Just because there was reports out there that he was coming doesn't mean we actually wanted him either. He may have wanted to come on a visit.
Speaking of wingspan, I mean, Ty Golden's doing some interesting stuff in the portal, right? And I know we're talking football, but I mean, this Elijah Martin kid is one explosive dude from Florida Atlantic. But he got this Ruben Chinyelu from Washington. Now, he's kind of a little bit of a project-y kind of guy, 6'11", right? Grew up in a Nigerian village, didn't even start playing basketball 2018. He's got an 8'6" wingspan.
Yeah. And his buddy, who I think he grew up with, is in the transfer portal that played at Kentucky last year.
All right.
I can't remember his name, but he was a highly recruited kid. So there's rumors out there that he possibly he's a 7-footer that can move. So
anyway, I just had to bring that up. 8'6". I mean, this guy, that's craziness. And then this Sam Alexis kid from Chattanooga looks nice. It looks like he could be a solid piece. But Todd's working the portal. That shouldn't go unaddressed or noticed because he's pretty good in the portal.
Yep. Text on the Titan Mar text line for Brett and Jack says Shane Marshall needs to better locate the ball in coverage. I agree, but you can say that about every DB. I mean, look, it's hard to play defensive back. And I'm just telling you, I will take these two on my team, and they will be playing on Sundays. Just Marshall, like I try to tell people about the kid that threw the shoe. He's still starting in the National Football League.
Well, he was good. His freshman year, he was
Yeah.
better. He was better than CJ Henderson as a freshman, I thought. And then he got the knee, blew out his knee against Kentucky in week 2, and it took him a couple years. A lot of guys don't recover from ACLs in 1 year. So I'll tell you, I think Marshall needs to prove something this year. He's a good kid. He's, fine to deal with. He needs to take a step and show that 5-star, billing that he had. I don't think he's flashed. FSU game he played really well in, actually. That was the best game of the year, probably. But I think Devin Moore is the real deal. I'm gonna kind of wait and see on Jason. I think he's definitely looks the part. He's physical. He looks fantastic. But Devin Moore, man, there's something about him. If he can stay healthy, but he can't. He hasn't been able to.
Very true. And we got to pressure the quarterback. Speaking of that, Frank on the Titan More text line says, I love Justice Boone, but I think Edgar is being overly optimistic about his impact after coming off an ACL after missing the spring.
I just said that about Wilson. Sometimes it takes a year and a half for a full recovery. I agree.
And some guys really recover pretty quick. So I don't know how Justice Boone, I don't know if he's going to be ready to go game 1. We all are hoping. I think we'll find more out over the summer. But yeah, we need him for sure. All right, Edgar, before we get you out of here, time goes by way too fast when you're on here. Gator Golf had a rough day. They sit at 6 in the SEC. They're like 10 shots out behind Vanderbilt. You've been following the golf team a little bit, right?
Yeah, I wrote a story on it that ran, I don't know, maybe it ran yesterday. I was writing about Jack Turner, the freshman Orlando kid. Dude, that guy's ball speed, 19-year-old kid, because we were talking about the speed of the game now. It's younger and faster than it's ever been. Wisdom and like plotting your way around the course, can still work, but man, you better be able to hit it a long way. And his ball speed's 188.5. He's 19 years old. That's like up there in Finau Bryson range. So there's a lot of talent on this team. Matthew Crest, though, is the only holdover from the team last year in the starting lineup that was on the SEC National Champion double last year. So these guys were going to come into a situation, Jack Turner, Parker Bell. Now, Tyler Wilkes is a senior with experience who was a starter 2 years ago, who was supplanted last year. And then I'm forgetting the 5th guy, but Ian Gillick.
The kid transfer.
Yeah, and he's our number 1 player. But none of these guys, not none, but Matthew is really the only one that was on that team last year in this spotlight. First off, TVs and all this and difficult course. And then here's the other thing. The SEC, there were 6 teams ranked ahead of Florida going into this. Florida's 14th in the nation. There's 6 teams ranked ahead of it. So it's a stacked league. For them to come in and just flip the switch would have surprised me. I was hopeful for it, but we'll see. Look, they got to cut. What is it? 2 more days? 54 hours?
Yeah, it's long. They've already teed off. We've birdied. Tyler Wilkes birdied the first, so I'm following it right here. So as we stand right now, I get. They do a team, and then we do the individual towards the end of the week, right?
Well, they do team, and you got to qualify top 8 to get in the match play. And they got to be in the top 8. So there's 6 right now. They got to stay in the top 8. And then it doesn't matter. Then it's match play, which is a totally different deal than stroke play.
Yeah. So right now, Vandy's 11 under, Georgia 10 under, Auburn at 6 under, A&M at 4 under, Tennessee 3 under. We're at 2 under right now. Arkansas is 1 back of us at 1 under.
Dude, that is not that bad. All the teams you mentioned are ranked ahead of Florida. Vanderbilt and Auburn's 1, Vanderbilt's 3. So yeah, they're right there. They need to stay right there. And then they get in match play. And then like I said, you get to see what happens. And it's mano a mano. And it's a totally different game than the stroke play.
Yeah. So very young golf team, but playing well. They've had a really good year.
Well, they won
good stuff as always.
Yeah, back-to-back wins coming into the tournament. So anyway.
Yeah. Let everybody know how they can check your podcast out.
Oh, it's Swamp Things. If you I don't want to take any of your business away, man.
Oh, they'll come back. Trust me. They'll come back.
Well, thanks for having me, Shane.
Appreciate your time, Edgar. Have a great vacation, my man. That's Edgar Thompson joining us on the Titan MR hotline. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Don't forget, tomorrow We're going to have Patrick Young live at 8:30 talking about his book signing at Spurs on Tuesday. Have a great day. Enjoy the draft, and hopefully everybody drafts the players y'all want for your teams. Take care, folks.
Hey.